to Oregon. And Oregon began training with Juntos in 2012, and 34% of the Latinx population in Oregon is under 18, actually. Oregon is also the home to the largest living organism that lives in the state's Blue Mountains. It measures 2.4 miles across, and it's actually a fungus. Gina, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you. I was really excited to hear what our fun fact was going to be. Glad it's a fungus. Thank you, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today to share with you Oregon State's Juntos story. So probably the biggest difference of our story compared to everybody else's is Juntos at OSU is its own standalone. So it does not have the 4-H partnership or component as it was traditionally is at the other institutions. I think as you kind of heard Dr. Reed talk earlier about disrupting and open campus and, you know, making things happen. That's just kind of how it was the best fit for our institution, was having Juntos live underneath the open campus. Underneath extension is still an extension program. And so the next slide gives you a history of where we came from. So as Bianca shared, 2012 is when we established the Juntos program. This photo is a photo that is very near and dear to our program. It's actually our first cohort, and we continue to use it in all of our presentations to constantly remind us of why we started and where we started from. So the history was 2 extension folks heard about this Juntos program, reached out to Diana and team, got an overview and said, yes, this is exactly what we need for our community in Central Oregon. And so for those of you that are not familiar with our state, most of the state is rural, is considered rural. We have only a small portion of the state that's heavily populated. And so most of the program has started and maintained its kind of original roots of serving the rural community. Since then, we have grown to serve over 4,800 students, and parents have been served. We are in over 50 schools and serve over 34 communities. And probably the proudest accomplishment that we have is that we are still maintaining an over 90% graduation rate, as well as these students attending some sort of post-secondary education. So quality is something that is still at the forefront as we continue to expand, that we don't want to lose. So that's why we continue to have this picture leading the way. The next slide gives you an overview of just kind of where we're located, and I'll talk a little bit more about our partnerships. So 2011 to 2014, central part of the state, that's where we started in those rural areas. Then we started kind of expanding outward, adding new regions, new communities, making the case for investment with our partners. So a lot of our investments come from partnerships with school districts. We've leaned heavily on showcasing why Juntos works, and then asking support from the school districts to invest either in facilitator funds or, you know, just general program funds. We also have, so we have over 9 different coordinators statewide that serve their various communities. Facilitators range between the coordinators themselves to school district staff that has been assigned to even some parent volunteers now. We also have partnered with community colleges, and we have now 2 shared positions with community colleges that either part-time or some portion of their time is, you know, wearing their Juntos hat, but then the other portion, they are serving the community college, but it's still all related to either outreach and recruitment. And then we also have a partnership with Southern Oregon University, which is another 4-year institution. And this is where, this is kind of where we've grown. We've loved it. It's come with its headaches, of course, because of the different ways that we have grown, but it's something that has certainly worked for us. The next slide shows you what components we have. So we have we're offering the middle school curriculum for our 8th graders, the high school curriculum, the family engagement components for our high schoolers, the family nights, the student club mentoring. We offer a big family day on campus every other year, and that's where we invite all of the Juntos cohorts, previous, past, to come and set foot on Oregon State's campus. It's this huge, beautiful day. We also encourage college visits, especially since we do have those community college and university partnerships. That's something that they have asked that those coordinators do. So some of our students are visiting other institutions across the state. And then this last year, we added a component in partnership with our admissions office called Beaver VIP, which was an on-the-spot admissions program that was exclusively for our Juntos students. So this photo here was a photo from this program to where the students applied beforehand. They came, they sat down with admissions and a financial aid person from Oregon State, and they were told right then and there if they were admitted and what scholarships they received, and everything was done in Spanish to help answer any questions that the families had. So that was a great program. Looking towards some of the challenges that we've had, I think a lot of us are talking about, COVID and how that has impacted our programming. So we're looking at it as opportunities. We've leaned heavily on our a texting system that we have brought on. We brought it on, but it wasn't heavily used, and especially now with COVID and so much of the information that needed to go out, it's something that we're now leaning heavily on. I think for a lot of us, this time has shown us that Juntos is just more than just talking about education. We were tapped a lot about how our family's getting connected to food resources or employment resources or anything related to the equity gaps across our state. And so we moved quickly to adapt and provide resources, or either created videos in Spanish, guides on how to connect virtually, so that we could support our families as well. Some of the pieces that I did want to end on was the future of our program. So something that we have had on our mind in terms of expansion. Of course, we want to continue to grow and add more sites, but that's with sustainability in mind. So we're continuing to seek new partnerships. Something that we've talked about, we also partner heavily, I don't think I mentioned it, is with Migrant Ed. So school districts, yes, some of their funding, but also Migrant Ed is a big one of our partners statewide. We did receive a grant to bring on the Summer Academy component. So we're very excited to add that student leadership component starting as early as next summer. Fingers crossed that everything kind of clears up. Then we're also, a part of that grant, we're starting to explore college level curriculum. So at this point, since we've had the program since 2012, a lot of our students are returning to either, our Juntos program as professionals, and they're starting to say, here are the challenges that I experienced while I was in college. I loved the framework and the support when I was in middle school and high school, but then now what? And so we're exploring what a college curriculum would look like. And then we've added a new EPA to kind of serve our Tillamook County, as well as we're looking to grow our suburban and urban Juntos sites. We've had a couple sprout out, but now we've actually have staffing and funds dedicated to starting to grow that site. So that's going to be completely new to us, is going from rural to urban, suburban. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gina, for sharing with us.